Tonight, Deputy Commissioner of Police Fitz Bailey says 50-year-old Robert Fowler, who has now been charged with the murder of 20-year-old accounting clerk Kenise Jackson, could face additional charges following a post-mortem examination.
On Tuesday, March 30, 2021, Mr. Robert Fowler, 50 years old, mechanic, Portmore address, and employed to Bowler's Motoring World, was charged with the murder of Kenise Jackson. After the postmortem result, it will be determined if additional charges will be preferred against the accused.
Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports issues an appeal to faith-based organizations to assist in offering greater protection for women and girls.
At what point do we say enough is enough? Madam Speaker, I want to use this opportunity to call on every organization in our country to get involved in activities to stem the bloodletting against our women and our girls in our communities.
Still tonight, 2 persons taken into custody by the Portmore Police for questioning regarding the fatal shooting of 36-year-old police constable Jermaine Bennett in Gregory Park, St. Catherine last night. And in COVID-19 updates, Jamaica yesterday recorded 9 COVID-19 related deaths, increasing deaths to 596, while 389 new cases were recorded. Good evening. Deputy Commissioner of Police, DCP Fitz Bailey, says 50-year-old mechanic Robert Fowler, who has now been charged with the murder of 20-year-old accounting clerk Kenise Jackson, could face additional charges following a post-mortem examination.
On Tuesday, March 30, 2021, Mr. Robert Fowler, 50 years old, mechanic, of a Portmore address and employed to Bowler's Motoring World, was charged with the murder of Kenise Jackson, accounts clerk of a St. Catherine address and formerly employed to Polyfoods Limited located in Crossroads. Investigation led the police to Crossroads, where Mr. Fowler was taken into custody. After further investigation and interview, the police was able to recover a number of physical items, including a handbag suspected to be that of Miss Jackson, as well as a banking card and other physical evidence. The accused also gave a caution statement that was recorded in the presence of his attorney. It is to be noted that based on investigation, the victim was killed between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. in the morning that she left for work. After the postmortem result, it will be determined if additional charges will be preferred against the accused.
The accused is to appear in court on April 9. DCP Bailey also stated that her bank card and handbag have been recovered from the Portmore home of the accused.
I want to point out at this time that during the investigation, the accused actually took the officers to a number of locations, including a location somewhere in Portmore, where he indicated that he tried to dispose of the body of the victim, but for some reason, he actually removed it from that location and took the body to the location where she was discovered. He also took the police to an address in Crossroads, where he claimed that certain items of clothing were disposed of. When the police went and searched, it was not discovered, as we believe that it could have been taken by the garbage collectors. investigation continues. I also want to point out that a piece of garment, a shamai to be specific, was also discovered, which is very critical to the investigation. Her handbag, a bank card, and other physical evidence, which I don't want to get into, were actually identified at her home. And I also want to point out that when the initial report was made, we were told that the person that she might have had contact with was Robert Fowler, who used to take her periodically to work whenever he drives a motor car. In addition, I want to clarify, based on our investigation, that there was no intimate relationship between the two parties.
The crime chief said Fowler, after picking up Jackson, took her to his house under the guise that he had forgotten a tool that he needed for his job, and that the accused left Jackson's body at his house, went to work, and later returned to dispose of it.
On the morning of her death, our investigation also revealed that Mr. Fowler had actually lured her to his home under the guise that he had forgotten to take a piece of equipment that was relevant to his trade as a mechanic rather. And that's how she ended up being at his home in Portmore. Based on what we were told, that there was an argument, a dispute, and he got upset and she was strangled. That's the way he actually strangled her. He used a piece of rope. And just to say that, without giving away too much, that a similar piece of rope was actually found at his house. And he admitted that, yes, the victim was strangled, albeit he may have given a different account as to where the incident happened. But we believe, based on our investigation, that it happened at his home, and the body remained there until he returned from work. He disposed of the body in a Nissan Caravan that he actually drove. As soon as the post-mortem result is received, that will determine, in terms of whether additional charges will be preferred. As I can say without any conclusive evidence, we suspect that she was assaulted, by the accused. Sexually assaulted by the accused.
In the meantime, Member of Parliament for South East St. Catherine, Robert Miller, has called on the government for stiffer penalties, such as the death penalty, to be handed down to criminals who continue to commit heinous crimes across Jamaica. Miller, who was speaking against the murder of 20-year-old Kenise Jackson, said her death was horrendous, heinous, and callous. He also called for greater focus to be placed on the effective socialization of boys at the community level. The MP, who also visited the home of the slain young woman, says he is aware that the death penalty has not been used in Jamaica since 1988. However, he believes that incarceration is not sufficient punishment for such evil acts. He said in order to fix our society, we must also fix our boys. We must pay attention to how we raise and treat them, and also teach them to become honorable men who protect and cherish our women and children. Miller also called for the law to be amended that prohibits private citizens from carrying pepper spray, and also increase CCTV coverage in hotspots in that particular community to include Dyke Road, Bridgeport, and Waterford. Also, the Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports, Olivia Grange, has issued an appeal to members of the music and entertainment fraternity and media to join in the campaign to rid our country of the scourge of violence against women and girls. The minister, who was speaking in the House of Representatives yesterday, says that violence against women and girls is an issue of national security and justice, which we must find solutions to. Now, her statement follows the murder of 20-year-old Kenise Jackson, who went missing last Wednesday. Jackson's body was found at the Portmore fishing village in St. Catherine 2 days later. While calling for collective action across the country, Grange also appealed to faith-based organizations to assist in offering greater protection for the women and girls.
At what point do we say enough is enough? Madam Speaker, I want to use this opportunity to call on every organization in our country to get involved in activities to stem the bloodletting against our women and our girls in our communities. I want to ask our faith-based leadership to use their pulpit and their respected status to sustain a dialogue within communities in the face of this violence against our women and girls.
Meanwhile, Member of Parliament for Northeastern St. Catherine, Kerencia Morrison, has called for an amendment to the Criminal Justice Administration Amendment Act. She questioned reductions of up to 50% on sentences for persons who plead guilty to a crime, noting that the law needs to serve as a deterrent.
I rise to call for the amendment to Section 42D of the Criminal Justice Act number 29, 2015. Speaker, it says, where the defendant indicates to the court on the first relevant date that he wishes to plead guilty to the offense, the sentence may be reduced by up to 50%. Madam Speaker, even if there is a reduction in the sentence of pleading guilty, the amount given must be reflective of the nature and severity of the offense, Madam Speaker.
In news from St. Catherine, the police are seeking the public's assistance to locate 59-year-old Devon Samuels, otherwise called Gummy, of Ragsville District, Guys Hill, who has been missing since Tuesday, March 9. He is of dark complexion and medium build. Reports from the Guys Hill police coming into our news center tonight are that Devon was last seen at home wearing a grey and brown shirt and khaki pants. All attempts to contact him have failed. Anyone knowing the whereabouts of Devon Samuels is being asked to contact the Riversdale Police at 876-903-7539, Police 119 Emergency, or the nearest police station. Still in St. Catherine, the Portmore police have taken 2 persons into custody for questioning in connection with the fatal shooting of 36-year-old Jermaine Bennett, a police constable who was gunned down in Gregory Park, Portmore, last night. Constable Bennett, who was assigned to the Kingston Central Division and also a resident of Gregory Park, was fatally shot by unknown assailants at approximately 9:45 p.m. Reports coming into our news center are that Bennett was visiting his child's mother and his 5-week-old baby girl when armed men entered the home and opened gunfire, hitting him. Bennett was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. Lawmen are asking anyone with information that can assist with the investigation to contact the Portmore Criminal Investigation Branch at 876-949-8431, the Major Investigations Division at 876-758-5048, Crime Stop at 311, Police 119 Emergency, or the nearest police station. Back in St. Catherine, 28-year-old Kareem Beckford, customer service representative of Brunswick Avenue, has been charged with rape, grievous sexual assault, extortion, and cruelty to a child following an incident in his community. Reports from the Spanish Town Police coming into our news center are that in January, the accused, who is a friend of the complainant's family, caused the complainant to remove her clothing and kneel on the floor with a book in her hand as punishment for leaving the house. On a separate occasion in January, while the complainant was having online classes at the accused's house, Beckford called her into his room and sexually assaulted her. Beckford subsequently threatened the complainant that her family would be informed she was sexually active if she refused to pay him $10,000. The complainant then informed her aunt, who reported the matter to the police. He was arrested and subsequently charged on Wednesday, March 24. His court date is being finalized. We go now to COVID-19 updates. Jamaica yesterday recorded 9 COVID-19 related deaths, taking deaths now to 596. The deceased are a 62-year-old male from Portland, 2 men aged 68 and 72 years from St. Elizabeth, 2 men aged 67 years and 68 years from Westmoreland, 2 men aged 54 years and 64 from St. Catherine, a 65-year-old man from Kingston and St. Andrew, and an 82-year-old female from St. Mary. 2 additional cases were recorded as coincidental deaths, moving that total to 99. 1 other fatality is currently being probed. Meanwhile, there were 389 new cases recorded, ranging in age from 5 months to 98 years, taking the total of cases to 39,237, with 20,779 active cases. Of the new cases, 180 are men and 209 are women. In the meantime, there were 124 additional recoveries, increasing the total of recovered persons now to 17,598. 476 persons are in hospital, 52 of whom are moderately ill and 39 critically ill. Still making Mello TV news, former General Secretary of the People's National Party, Maxine Henry Wilson, and Jamaican veteran journalist Dion Jackson Miller have both tested positive for the coronavirus. Jackson Miller, who is a former president of the Press Association of Jamaica and a current affairs host, tested positive for the virus on Monday. Henry Wilson, who is a former Minister of Education, also tested positive on Monday and has since been admitted to the National Chest Hospital. Still making news tonight, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett has cautioned global leaders that any requirement for proof of vaccination for travel, which does not take into account the unequal access and distribution of COVID-19 vaccines globally, could be considered discriminatory. Speaking recently during the group's 3rd virtual meeting, Bartlett, in his capacity as chair of the Organization of American States Inter-American Committee on Tourism, CITUR Working Group 4, which was developed to create a recovery action plan for the airline and cruise industry, said, and I quote, "Effective management of COVID-19 and recovery of the global economy requires a concerted and collaborative effort from all member states. We need to move together on this, or else we risk a deterioration of the situation in developing countries, the effects of which will be inevitably spread to neighbors in the region and beyond," end quote. He urged members to consider all the implications that a vaccine passport could have, primarily on tourism-dependent countries. He also pointed out that it is pertinent for the Americas to be a strong voice in introducing the recovery recommendations that will work for the region. Minister Bartlett also called for an expeditious review and approval process to facilitate the quicker rollout of safe and effective vaccines.
He said there have been reports of vaccines being administered that have not met with widespread acceptance, and the World Health Organization, WHO, has a role to play as the global norm and standard-setting specialized agency of the UN on public health matters. And those are some of the stories making news. We will return with other stories as Tax Administration Jamaica, TAJ, is advising all property owners that property tax payment for the 2021 to 2022 fiscal year, which remains unchanged, becomes due on April 1. And applications are now being accepted from high school students or recent graduates aged 16 to 18 years to represent Jamaica at the 2021 Virtual National Youth Science Camp, NYS Camp. But first, we'll go to a break and then it's over to Christopher Scott with the very latest in sports.